basically Afriland Properties, which is a subsidiary of Harris Holdings, which is a company run by billionaire Tony Elumelu. Essentially had signed a joint redevelopment partnership with the Lagos State Development and Property Corporation, that's LSDPC. And they want to turn the former Falomo shopping complex to a premium sky-high real estate project, calling it the Falomo Mall or something. And basically, the project is supposed to enhance that, area. And during the ceremony, Tony Elumelu was there. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos, was there at this ceremony. This is something that's been in the works for a while. That I think it's faced some challenges. Sanwo-Olu, while he was discussing the real estate markets in Lagos, said that he wants to pledge to develop real estate and close the housing deficits in Lagos. The housing deficits, I think, is pegged at about 3.4 million units or so. Is the estimate for the housing, but it could be higher because estimates on population is anywhere from 17 to 20 million people, and that's estimates of housing deficits, could be higher than 3.4 million. It could be 5 or 6, but he's pledged to close it because this ceremony was around real estate in Falomo. So that's the gist of it. That's what he's saying he's going to do. He didn't really expand on how, but that was the pledge.
And this is going to, have an impact on Lagosians positively, yes?
Of course. I mean, if you look at the wider nation, Nigeria, although we've been throwing this figure around for so many years now, the housing deficit in Nigeria is 17 million units. But honestly, I think that number is probably higher. If you lose the housing deficit, then you put more people in homes. If you put more people in homes, you can tax them, you can earn tax revenue from them. You are getting more people off the streets. You are essentially, as far as affordable housing is concerned, giving people a platform through which they can grow economically, because housing it's as far as an asset and a valuable asset, it is incredible compared to if you think of your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food, clothing, and shelter, and so on and so forth. So that's the plan. That's what they plan to do, to definitely benefit.
But what, let's talk challenges now. What do you think, in your words, what do you think are some of the challenges this plan might face?
Yeah, so one of the challenges this plan faces, now I'm talking about closing the housing deficit. The Afriland, that Falomo Mall thing, that's a public-private partnership. So that's between Lagos and Afriland Properties. So that's separate. As far as housing deficits and closing it, one of the problems or one of the biggest challenges faced is costs. The costs of building materials. Cement is at a double-digit high as far as price is concerned. You've got high inflation, and you've got the cost of building a property for developers. A lot of their inputs, raw materials, are imported, and the exchange rate has driven up those prices. So it's really tough for the state, unless the state wants to eat the difference, to be able to build cheap housing in a high inflationary environment where costs are rising. It's really, really tough, which is why at the national level, you haven't seen much of an improvement in that regard. So costs, inflation, those are some of the main challenges that any housing plan in Nigeria is going to face.
If we look at Lagos, Rotus, we have estimated about 16 to 20 million people in Lagos. And as expected, there's going to be, housing deficit. But yes, this is a big plan, private sector and the government coming together to make this work. And you mentioned Falomo. How about the other axis here in Lagos? Can Lagos housing deficit be closed, truly and frankly?
It can be closed if the costs are addressed. Unless you address the cost, when you talk about affordable housing, you're talking about providing shelter to people that is more affordable, that is cheaper than other mid-priced and high-priced homes. So it's not easy to do that because it is very expensive. You have to where costs are, with the cost of building these establishments maintenance costs as well. Affordable housing, if you put somebody who is a low-income person in an affordable housing structure, they have to possibly have a job. They have to have a way of income that is going to, keep them going, to be able to maintain the housing that they're in there. So it's costs, it's maintenance, data as well. I mean, there's also the issue on data on exactly how many housing units, what exactly the deficit is, the different parts of Lagos, being able to put people in there, how you address that. So there's a number of headwinds facing that project, but it is doable. It's doable. It's just that, the money.
All right, we'll come back and talk Lagos and the lands and how expensive they are. But let's take a message in from Benga Komu. You too can be part of the show, sending your messages on the conversation we're having. The number is 0809 4440981. Benga Komu says, talk is cheap. Even the estate constructed by the Lagos government, how affordable is it for the average family? Talk less of those high-end ones. Should the governor be making statements like this at the partnership not targeted at low-income earners? Rotus, are the marketers up to their usual antics, or are we seeing the start of fuel scarcity in Lagos? He just threw that one in.
Yeah, that's fine. We can address that.
We'll come talk about fuel again, but let's take this other message in from Yinka Bolu. In capitals, he says, RUBBISH. Do you think I can afford a place at Falomo? You don't just go about making such statements about addressing housing deficit without doing the work. Carry out a state census of the population of Lagos vis-a-vis the population of working class Lagosians. Then check the mean average annual earnings of working class Lagosians, and then come and tell us if we can really afford a room at Falomo. For the obtained time, partner with Ogun State government and look at creating something around the boundary areas. That's an advice from Yinka Bolu. You want to react?
Yes. So it's correct. And again, once more, this is a mall. This is a real estate development between the Afriland properties and Lagos. That is one thing on one side. That's what that mall project is. The second side of this conversation is the wider Lagos, whether or not this can be done. Look at a lot of housing estates right now and what diesel costs are doing to individuals that live in rented apartments and so on. Think of what that's doing. Also think of what you would need you need power to be able to complete a lot of your projects that you're doing. So the cost issue is the main thing. But Yinka's point about data is very important. I know I raised that just a few seconds ago where I said that you need to carry out a data project to know exactly how many units there are so you can peg your costs accurately. And then you look at Lagos is a large place, right? Lagos, you can fit Ghana inside Lagos. It's a pretty big place. So you've got to now think of what part of town you begin these affordable housing projects, how you can scale it, because you need to scale it across the state. So it's very expensive. That's why we haven't seen much progress in that area, aggressively. So it's not an easy thing to do. Benga makes a good point as well. So it's not easy. It's something that has to be addressed.
All right, let's throw this one in before we talk about the fuel scarcity. What do you make of Amazon expanding into Nigeria in 2023? Is this some form of hiring job for us?
Yeah, so if Amazon is expanding into Nigeria, you can hopefully expect an increase in jobs. I believe what they do, they're making a play for customers for Amazon. Is it Amazon Prime? Their video service. Their service that's supposed to compete with Netflix and Hulu. Yeah, so that's the play that they're making. And I think they're also going to be challenging the Kongas and the Jumias of this world as well.
Exactly.
So I think that's the main play that they're making here. So one, it's competition. A giant like that coming in here, sometime in 2023 is when they are looking at doing it.
Right.
Hiring engineers and so there should be job gains for people in that field. But then as far as e-commerce and the video service that they offer, the video on demand service that they offer, that should be some competition for the
as long as they have an office set up here in Nigeria and pay taxes and can hire Nigerians living in Nigeria, there you go, Rotus.
Yep, for sure.
All right. So earlier on earlier on, I had talked about fuel scarcity. The queues I noticed on my way to work this morning, and I did ask that the listeners sent messages in. I'll squeeze one in to this conversation. Omololu sends a message, says, I noticed the queue this morning at the filling stations around Mobolaji Bank, Anthony, on my way to the airport. Rotus, I personally, around VI, I witnessed long queues with great logs. And I wondered, because this was before 6 a.m., I wondered what will happen when Nigerians begin to come out of their houses to get to the office. Fuel scarcity at this time. What's your take? I mean, just share your thoughts with us.
I'm not really sure what the cause is this time, but anytime you see lines and queues, that means it's a supply issue. I know that the ministers have been trying to force the government to they've been trying forever now to remove that subsidy and to be able to pay sell fuel at a higher price. So I'm not really sure what this latest issue this morning is. I haven't been out yet. I'm going to find out. But because I know in Abuja there have been recent queues that have popped up in Abuja. Right. So it's anyway. I'm not sure what this latest issue is, but it's probably a supply issue. It's probably linked to the fact that oil marketers are saying that costs are getting too high for them as far as land of fuel. Crude oil is over $120 now. So your landing cost of fuel continues to rise. And I'm sure the subsidy payments, they're not getting them on time. This is also happening in Kenya. It's happening in some other areas. So it's a supply issue. It's anywhere between marketers trying to force the hand of government or something else must have popped up. So I'll definitely find out what the exact reason is today.
So before the end of the day, hopefully we'll get a statement. But let's look at the messages again before we go. Ogeno Chuku sends a message. It says, these housing building project is not targeted at low income. Anything short of the Jakonde low house schemes is just an elite stuff. And we have this other message from Ugoina Papa. This is all business for hers and not targeted at reducing the housing deficit. Even the estates built by the government are used to settle politicians were not just ready. Please, Rotus, how would Amazon get their dollars? I just ask.
That's a repatriation question. Yeah, very, very good question there.
All right, Yinka Bolu comes in again, says, challenging Jumia and Konga. No, I pity Jumia and Konga. Guys, it's Amazon we're talking about, bro. Then he continues, the tanker operators are saying diesel cost aren't smiling, hence they can't supply via trucks. So I think the federal government approved some sort of increase. And final one we can take, Austin from Satellite says, if Lagos State really wants to address housing problem, let them negotiate with landlords. Many parts of Lagos demolish those bungalows that scattered in different parts of Lagos and build skyscrapers. By doing so, many people will have houses to live in. Okay. You want to react to any as we wrap up?
No, very quickly. That Yinka's point on fuel scarcity, the Tankers Association, is it NARTO, a Nigerian Association of Road Tanker Operators? Yeah, Nigerian Association of Road Tanker Operations, NARTO. They've complained in the past about the cost of moving fuel from the depots to the fuel stations because the trucks that they use run on diesel, and diesel cost, look, it's approaching 800 naira. So Yinka's point, that could be it. They might be causing issues again, saying they can't supply. So maybe that's the problem. It's something they've mentioned in the past. We'll see if that's the issue. And on housing, excellent points. I mean, if the Lagos government is serious about this, we'll know. We'll see it before our very eyes.
All right, let's keep the conversation going on social media, especially on Twitter, where you can catch Rotus at Rotan Codes. Thank you very much, Rotus. Let's do this again tomorrow at 6:30. You can also tag the station into the conversation with Smooth 981 FM. My name is Victor Pepple. We'll bring you freshly pressed at 7:30, but right now we'll bring you some very good music. We have Khalid playing for you. We have Mali music, as well as just stick around. Great tunes for you.
Express. Brought to you by InterSwitch.